Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of Energy Unleashed with Suzanne and Kim. Happy post-holiday turkey and what?
Pre pre
Santa? Jesus,
Santa,
whatever.
Christmas.
All of the
I don't know.
above.
I'm just go out there. It's Christmas.
Let's just say pre-solstice. I'm down for that,
Yeah,
right?
that's coming up fast.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so coming up fast, so coming up fast. So Kim and I are laughing before we got on today. Just an FYI for anybody that follows this kind of stuff. Neither of us can see, hence
I
the
know.
cheaters on me right now. I don't,
Seriously.
right? We don't understand. I mean, everyone is getting hit with pummeling hit. I mean, overwhelmingly hit with solar flares right now.
Mhm.
And Schumann resonance has been off the chart. You follow Schumann a little more than me. What has that been?
It's been kind of in the 20s to 40s, so it's
Oh, that's
been
not that bad, but
elevated, but
I
it's
mean,
not like 80 or 100 or whatever.
yeah,
I've seen in the last maybe 4 days.
right, right. But I
Oh,
mean, versus a seven and an eight and a 10 of what it used to be, that's still pretty big. But solar flares
yeah.
are insane. And I was also had a client the other day that said the sunspot business is really bad. And I'm not really, I'm going to be totally honest. I don't even know what the sunspot business is. Is that like different than a flare?
Well, I'm not sure because don't they follow sunspots and then a flare can come from a sunspot?
Yeah, I don't
Like, are
know.
there more spots? Is that what she said? There
I don't know.
more.
I'm just throwing out my ignorance to the entire who's
Well,
ever
I'll be
listening
ignorant
to
with
this.
you. I have no idea.
But all I do know is when the solar flares are going crazy, my head goes crazy. And when my head goes crazy, my eyes go crazy. And I was really seriously yesterday thinking, wow, this is it. Because, literally it was my geriatric birthday, if we want to put it that way. And I woke up and I'm like, now I can't see. Welcome to being welcome to being the geriatric world. And it was like it felt like it was overnight. Like I all of a sudden had like no vision, especially in my right eye. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, oh my God. But then, funny enough, I had a client yesterday, and he's, my table where I do my intake if no one has been in my office is quite small.
Mm.
And what is that? Maybe 4 feet 5 if we're leaned back between us. And my client kept doing this, this face, And I'm like, what is going on? He goes, I don't know if my eyes are going crazy. He goes, my eyes haven't been that good. He goes, but you just keep like blurring in and out like a really weird like blurring and you just go away. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and so I thought maybe I was doing my morphing thing where I sort of change into other people or whatever. But
Right.
I was literally just changing into light and he couldn't stand it. It was like driving his eyeballs nuts. And so I think our eyes are doing really weird things right now. I think our eyes are seeing people's auric fields differently. Whether we do this work or not, it's important for anyone listening to think you're not going crazy and not necessarily going blind. Not that that's medical advice, but I think that's what's happening. I think people are seeing the dimensional fields differently. They're seeing, and I'm starting to see geometrics again much more. Those went away during my Mercury crisis, but now it's like, oh, I'm being able to see much more structure again when I look out. So instead of freaking out about that and thinking you're dying, maybe play with it.
Yeah. It's fun to play with the energy right now. I mean, just looking out the window, the little energy, little doodads.
Like sperm, we call them energy
Yeah,
sperms.
just
Yeah.
super active. And it's so, I don't know. This, whatever is happening is really taking its toll in this last week for me. My sleep
Yep.
is off again. I feel like I say this all the time though. My
Okay, you're
sleep
not.
is like really wonky again. Waking up during the night, can't fall back to sleep. Dreams are just crazy
Yep.
lately. Um,
Yep.
I wish I could remember them more, but they feel like I'm actually doing something, possibly other dimensional stuff, like we've talked about before.
Yep. I've
Um,
been doing that also. And I'm actually remembering more snippets, which for me is very rare because I don't remember anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just in that amount of time now I can see better without my glasses versus 10 minutes ago I couldn't see anything with my it's just nuts. So yeah, I think these are coming and going and changing and swirling so much that it's my message, I guess, is be patient and in awe instead of being scared that you're dying of something.
right, right.
Right.
And then, something that I was listening to the other day, and I got out of the habit. I've been charging my phone close to my body at night, and I cannot do that. I'm not going to be doing that
And
anymore.
in fact, you shouldn't even have your phone by your body anywhere
I
while
know
you're
it needs to be in
sleeping.
the other
Like not
room.
even by
And
it.
it was just the easy place to plug in. And
Yep.
So the phone thing, and then also looking at your phone right away when you wake up. And
Yep.
I found that over the weekend, I was like, okay, well, let's not do those things. Um, and it's starting, I can see where there's a big difference because when you're waking up, your brain isn't totally in the place that it needs to be yet. So when you immediately go into the technology, it
Ah,
supposedly really throws off your eyes and your thought process for the day.
interesting.
Instead
I
of,
love that.
yeah, instead of just, waking up and taking that quiet time and then talking to your body to like, because your body will heal itself during that waking hour time. And I
Yep.
know friends that actually they check their chakras in the morning before they start and they set their intention for the day. And I
Yep.
totally was out of the habit of doing any of that
Oh,
anymore.
thank you for the reminder because I
Yeah.
literally do check my phone in the morning, mostly because of work, and I want to make sure that, I'm not getting a change in my schedule. But that's something that I was not in the habit of either. I was in the habit of going into my other little library room and doing my meditative time for an hour. The other thing I have been adding in, which is a great thing to do in the morning too, is a lymph, kind of like a lymph drainage just for these chakras, because these are really important when we're laying down and everything pools up. And to just like do this really soft and massage up around the ear and front and back and down the drainage here and up into the temple and just these drainages here and all the way down into here. Just that whole lymphatic thing to be able to open this up, because I feel like when we sleep sometimes everything gets pulled up in your head. That's why your eyeballs are all puffy and your face is all puffy. And then all of a sudden by 10 o'clock, you're like, oh, now I look normal. So that's a good thing to do in the morning too, is to just drain downward. And you can do that in a meditative way, in a really soft and gentle way, because lymph stuff is supposed to be very gentle. And I'm horrible at that. I'm always like, "Arr,"
Right.
masochist,
Oh my God, I watch you sometimes with your little tools and how you dig into your body. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But on the lymph place, you have to be really, really calm and
yeah.
soft. And so that's a really nice meditative way to wake up in the morning too, is to just open up that drainage and let that happen. So, just all thoughts. Because, like you said, we know this stuff, but man, do we forget it, right? I mean, we just
Oh,
forget.
totally.
So,
Around the holidays, especially when I'm, into my list, I've got, I have a what do I need to do next kind of thing. And some of it is taking care of your yard, house, all the things pre-winter, all
yep,
there's just a long list and it's easier to get up and go get rolling, instead of taking the time for the self.
yep.
And it was a good reminder for me. So hopefully it is for others too that, take that time in the morning if you
And
can.
mini moments is what I was telling my client the other day. You don't have to be the big, huge freak about, I have to meditate all day long. It's mini moments of
Yeah.
meditation. It's mini moments of scanning. It's many tiny moments of resets. So really important. Well, what I wanted to go into client-wise, Kim, was this has kind of been I think consistent in a lot of snippets in different ways throughout client sessions. One predominant client that I just recently had was really having some struggles at work, for example, this particular one, and having work issues. And, this is happening to me at work, and they are treating me this way. And, this person's doing this to me, and management isn't listening to that with me. And when I was doing the work, it was really important for us to understand what I want to bring forward is two things: patterns. It's really important to understand just because this and this and this is happening at work, it's also going to be happening and I always use sandboxes. It's the easiest metaphor for me. Every sandbox is going to be very similar because the toys are always different. Maybe the toys are work people. Maybe the toys are my health. Maybe the toys are my family. Maybe the toys in the sandbox are this, that, and the other thing. But the sand is still you and your lessons. So what happens is we project outward thinking, this is happening to me, this is happening to me. And when we do this kind of work, it's imperative for us to look at the sand, because that common denominator in all those boxes is still going to be me, and it's going to be me and my lessons. And what I want to point out on this one is it's the projection of. Oftentimes, when we're having issues, whether it's in relationships or work people or health issues or whatever, we think things are happening to us. We think things are happening to us. So it's a projection outward. But really what we're doing from the soul's perspective is we're using that being, that situation, that scenario as the projector board, because I'm the one that's drawing in that experience. Are you following?
So
I'm the one.
basically, the when you're in that mode of I'm the victim,
Yep.
everyone else is doing this to me, you're
Yep.
manifesting and bringing all that attraction in, right? You're
Yeah,
attracting kinds of things.
because especially right now, because of the fact that what we're doing is we are allowing ourselves to understand. I never do this on a YouTube, but I'm going to do it. We're allowing ourselves, this is my training for our online community. We're allowing ourselves to have all different aspects of ourselves to implode into ourselves. This is the nasty me. This is the lazy me. This is the really horrible, mean me. That this is the romantic me. This is the 6-year-old me. We're imploding all of our me's, all of our aspects of me. We're imploding, we're contracting so that we can actually expand into bigger versions of who and what we are. And so what's happening right now is if I still have a soul contract with my soul, this is my soul reference here. If I'm bringing down a soul contract that says I still am having lessons of being heard, being seen, showing up in life, having people validate me, if I'm still dealing with those lessons, I am going to create in every sandbox some version of a projection of that so that I'm the one that's being challenged with my own lesson. I'm going to find somebody at work that doesn't hear me. I'm going to find a partner not listening to me. I'm going to find, and so on and so forth. So we are contracting all of these in. We're compacting and contracting because we're learning all of our lessons so that we can even go higher into our soul that still may have lessons because maybe in this past life, I still have a lesson of not being heard. So this lesson is going to drop down into this lifetime with another version of it, and that might be what's happening at work.
Oh, okay.
Are you
So when
following?
you realize that you're doing this, like you're working with the client and you're explaining this, um, is it changing their thought process
Yeah.
around what's
Yeah.
happening?
So I scribble all this on their paper and I oftentimes say, okay, this is a little mini version on soul lessons and soul contracts and karma, etc. But more so what we want to understand when we walk away from it is there's no victimization. Victimization throws us into the controller program. So
Mm.
most often these people feel that they have no control, so they become overbearingly in the control mode. Controller and victim is the same exact program. It just
Okay.
shows up differently. So if you are finding yourself right now feeling really frustrated and really upset because I have no control, and I'm victimizing myself over that. We can even expand this into the last month. I also have had still clients that are really struggling with this whole politics thing. Oh my God, our whole world is falling apart. And now we have no, safe and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, what is making you think like that? Because we're constantly dealing with, they took my rights away. Well, first of all, nothing's even happened. We don't know what's going to happen with any of that stuff. Same with work. We don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks or 2 days. We don't have any idea if that person's even going to be on the planet that's driving me crazy at work. I mean, we're doing all this projecting out in our mental field of craziness because we feel unsafe. We feel our worth has been devalued and we feel like we're not enough or doing enough or I have enough. And so, again, these are those anchors that we want to go, oh my God, this is all fake. I'm in the controller victim mode. I don't have to control the world. I don't have to feel victimized. I just want to go to neutral.
And neutral is an interesting place. It's difficult to get there if you're really, 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 really in this pattern. Like you said, the pattern
Patterns are
um,
everywhere.
it could be lifelong. They've been in this pattern their whole life. And
Yeah.
then it's to change that and to put enough focus that you can actually catch yourself doing that. It takes a lot of practice.
And
Uh,
this particular client hasn't worked with me a ton. And so when I started to encourage her to look at her pattern, the light bulb goes on over their head. Sometimes when I work with people, it makes me laugh because they're like, "Ooh," I mean, their eyeballs get this big and it's like, oh my God. And the light bulb pattern of childhood comes on, it's
okay.
like, oh. And remember, we have lines of energy from our childhood, and many of us around this age have parents that are still coming from many of us have strict lines in our parenting, meaning, this is what we do and what we don't do.
Mhm.
Well, if I grew up with that and I'm in my 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, I'm still running those narratives if I haven't dropped that stuff. So and so at work is not supposed to be doing that.
Oh,
She or he
so
isn't they're not supposed to do that. You just don't do that. Or, i.e., our incoming, politician, he isn't supposed to do that. Well, actually, he gets to. And when you say that, their brain just goes, "Wait, what?" And I said it 1,000 times, and I had four clients back to back yesterday, and three out of the four were lividly still struggling with, no, that's not right. And I'm like, actually, there isn't a right. You can't say somebody doesn't get to do that because they actually do.
Wow. And
And
you know what?
that's so mind-boggling.
It is because it goes back to every person has their own contract, their own journey, and the choices that they make can deviate from what that is, but they're choices. It's free will. And so your reaction to whatever that person is doing, again, goes back to you.
And
Uh,
your container of your
yeah.
belief.
Why are you so emotionally reacting to this?
Isn't
What
it
is it?
crazy?
Yeah, what is it that's behind that? And I really think that the one you touched on that makes so much sense to me for people and their reactions is not being seen, not being heard,
Mhm.
and abandonment. Those are the two that just seem to really create a lot of victimization
Yep.
with people.
And remember, those are primal, those are primal separation of something, and that's what ignites our savior business. And so when I have that on that drawing, when I still have that chart or that fractal from that other lifetime, quite possibly I'm bringing that in karmically to deal with that again.
Oh
And
yeah.
so right now, because we're compacting and expanding, I am going to bring that up in any sandbox I possibly can come across in the next whatever time period, because I'm the one that's doing that work.
Mhm.
But we want to really take power over that and command over that versus, oh my God, I'm being victimized again.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's a whole flip.
Yeah, but I also think there are some real bullies out there. I'm just going to say that out loud. I think the
Oh, sure.
workplace, people are so afraid to discipline or write up people for behaviors because it's changed in many arenas, especially working in an hourly job or a warehouse or wherever where you're trying to keep enough people to keep everything going and
Right.
to rock the boat. They're allowing behaviors that I never dreamed in the workplace they should be able to allow.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate
Yeah,
on that.
do because I want to hear this.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate on this in terms of I agree,
Mhm.
totally agree. And people should not be able to treat people like that. However, right now you're back in a belief system that
Yeah.
people should or shouldn't.
Yeah,
So
right.
you slipped right back into it,
I
which is
totally
fine.
did.
And
Yeah.
I'm not making fun. It's just what we do. But let's take that even further. From a perspective of the divine, it actually has the right to do that, and it is important to do that because I now, when I'm being treated like that and no one is coming in with the savior program on my behalf, I'm responsible for
True. Very true.
it.
Very true.
Right?
Yeah, right.
It's real.
Except, you know what? When it becomes, it's, I'm trying to figure out a way to, like, when it becomes like almost a physical hazard in your job,
Yep.
and management won't stand up for that, it's still you.
Yep.
Like you're going through your day, you're doing what you're supposed to do. How do you work with that? How do you
Two
work with
two
that?
things, two things. You can leave that job in any way, shape, or form. Remember, what you're
Mhm.
challenging yourself on is the limitation of poverty consciousness, meaning I can't leave. I have to be here. And the reality is, and I said this with this client, why are you staying at the job? Well, I have to. No, you don't. Well, yeah, because I have to pay my mortgage. No, you don't.
Mhm.
Well, I have to pay for my house. No, you don't. So people hate when I do that, and I'm not being flippant or mean. The point is you really don't have to go to work. You don't have to pay your mortgage. You can lose everything. It's a choice
Right.
that I go to work. So really, the day that I understand that these are all choices, I
Mhm.
command my power back, and then I start to be powerful enough to go, geez, that's not a great choice right now. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that anymore. I'm in harm's way and I have the power to change that. So it's about self-responsibility and personal command. And remember, a lot of this stuff is breaking down the hero program because the hero program we think even government, even boss structures, even like, the protocols at work save me from this, that, or the other thing. Those are all lovely and fine, but they're still patriarchal structures that we have relied on versus our
Mhm.
innate sentience to go, this is ridiculous, and there's no way in hell I'm staying at this place because I choose.
Yeah.
Not I can't and no one's helping me. It's a whole different. Are you following how this
I
important?
am. I
Yeah,
am. Yeah, I am.
it's really
But
important.
it's again, it takes practice.
I know your head is
I-
so, and that's why I love when we do these organically because everybody out there, his head is doing the same thing you're doing. It's like, I don't necessarily want to believe anything Suzanne's saying because my brain doesn't like that. And I'm here to say, don't believe what I'm saying. Just let your body experience the limitation that you're feeling right now. You can feel how tight you are, and you can feel how tight it is in your upper neck right now and around your throat. It's really, here I'm scanning my partner. But yeah, it's really important to understand that these are running through your matrix as situations right now. And this is about you. Again, back to the picture over here. You're bringing this forward.
Mhm.
Oh my God, look at my
Got
blurb. What
blurry.
just happened?
Did you go blurry?
I don't know. This is what my
There you
eyes
go.
look like, everyone.
Your eyes.
That was funny. I think I did my hands too fast, but it is important for us to understand that I'm bringing this in. I'm still challenging myself. And again, what I want to help understand is this. This is so important. People shouldn't treat anyone that way. People
Mhm.
shouldn't get to do that. People shouldn't get. Where does that come from? It comes from your belief.
Yeah.
Is that a truth in some regards? Hopefully, because humans should not treat each other that way. I mean, it's still a should. And when we have a should in there any way, shape, or form, we're pulling that from a belief system. When we finally admit that people get to be the biggest jerks in the entire world if they choose to, why do we get so upset about that?
Well, because I am of the idea that it should be lollipops and rainbows, and I don't know.
Right? How's
Yeah,
that
it
lollipop
is a
working?
belief because, um, you know, really it goes back to doing to others as you would do unto yourself, kind
Which,
of
which
thing.
is a belief.
It's a belief.
Yeah.
Um, but and in my opinion, I just think that it's easy to be kind. Why do you
And
have
I'm
to
going to say
be so hard?
kindness is a choice.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
and that was my
Totally choice.
experience this week. Kindness is a choice.
Mhm.
It's another choice. And so when we start to just fall into those that shouldn't be happening, we maybe want to invite ourselves back to that neutral space again and say, well, shouldn't is really a limitation. My perspective is this isn't acceptable, so I get to own my ethics, my morals, my integrity. We
Mhm.
want to take our power back. We don't want to give it to that other person who isn't in alignment with the power because then it's a loss of power. And when I go to neutral and I allow that being or that action to just be in neutral, we understand that the source energy is just having another version of another experience, of another version of another version of another experience. It just keeps going. So we take away the labels of rights and wrongs in a big scope. I'm not saying it's right to, plow into, your neighbor's home just because you drank too much. I mean all that stuff is rights and wrongs are relative. My
Right.
point is if we can get to this place of non-judgment because I'm going to judge right and wrong because I'm the one that's not stable.
Mhm.
I'm the one that's feeling limitation. And so projection is happening everywhere. So go to neutral, figure out your own stuff, remove the other obstacles and the other scenarios and the other people, and decide what's happening here.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense to me. I've had to do this. I had
Yeah.
to. I have
Yeah.
done this previously for myself because judgment is really easy, um, based on your, core beliefs.
And remember, we are clearing out such massive holographic foundational fears of
Mhm.
things like, shock and horror. right now, right? I mean, our ego structure is foundationally digging out on a collective humanity species level and beyond. Things like shock, horror, abandonment, betrayal, all of these things are really tough right now. And they are what the glue is within that patriarchal structure that's fake.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really
Well,
hard.
and as we're this is bubbling up and we're working through it and releasing it, doing the work, we're also intaking like more light, more vibration, frequency, more. So we're just in this. It's like it's not easy on
Like a
our
shit
whole,
show? Is that the word you're searching for?
like,
Yeah.
okay, what are
Yeah.
we doing next?
And
Yeah.
remember, this will affect this area again. I did a massage last week, and I love my girl. She's as blunt as I am. She's like, "You are a cesspool of shit right here in this area." And I'm like, "Well, because remember, these are our spiritual chakras from here up, and we are getting pummeled with electric frequencies from the light source. We're getting it from the solar flares, like we said, the sunspots, blah, blah, blah. This is electrical energy that's coming in hot and heavy in
Mhm.
a funnel type of a thing. We have this big of a thing, and our neck feels like this, right?
Mhm.
And this is where all those lymphs are in terms of allowing the lymph drainage for that negative energy to flow into that so-called physical plane or earth plane or whatever. We're overloaded. We are so overloaded.
Mm.
And what is in jeopardy in that physical plane is your belief systems. That's what it is not draining into. So we're getting pummeled with this really great electric light, which is upgrading us, but we can't upgrade because we can't get it into our root chakra.
Which is just sitting like
And it's sitting
literally.
in stasis. And what
Oh.
is in stasis in that root chakra that is not draining out is belief systems, belief systems, belief systems, and original horror, original shock, original betrayal, original, all that stuff is why this light is coming in, but we have to get it through the body.
Mhm.
You know, a torrid is a great visual. A torrid looks like a big donut with the hole in the middle, and it does this, you know. That's what you're doing. You're bringing in tons, but we're getting it stuck. We want to bring it down and then up and around. So we're really it's a cycle in our body that isn't working really well yet. That's why we're having so much trouble.
And so from like for anybody listening, um, is it visualizing that, identifying, understanding it's there, acknowledging it, but then visualizing moving it through?
Yep, and it's three different areas, and this is what I teach often. The ego gets so stuck in the head because it's overloaded. I'm getting too much light, too much light. So my default system is to think, feel. Oh, I think this is going to happen. I think that's going to happen. I'm at work. This is happening. I'm in my relationship. This is happening. It's insanity in the mental field up here because you're too pummeled and you're not allowing the light to work through, right? So I'm on overload. So what I want to do is I want to open up the channels in my lower area that match that, which is my root chakra and my sacral chakra and my solar plexus, meaning my beliefs, my emotions, and my feel centers. And I want to balance that with that overload of think feeling by feel feeling. What am I really feeling when someone attacks me at work? What am I really feeling when my boss doesn't stand up for me? Well, I'm feeling betrayed. I'm feeling abandoned. Don't stay in anger. Don't stay in mad. Don't stay in victimization. Get to the real core feeling of, I don't feel like anybody even likes me here. I don't feel valued. I don't feel any of that stuff. Then go even lower into your feel centers and really make friends with the fact that, wow, I've had that pattern a lot. Wow, I've never really felt heard. Wow. Get really super vulnerable and sit with that and move that through back up to heart space that says, but I have worth. I am safe. This is silly. Of course I'm okay. And that three mechanisms work together, which then opens up the whole system.
Okay. No, that's really a great way to, like, it's hard when you say just you need to move it through, and somebody
Yep.
sitting out there listening is like, well, how do I do that?
That was my very first class that my sister and I went to a million years ago. And she's just like, just send it up. And Sarah and I are over in the corner going, the hell does send it up mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? You know, I mean, give me an A, B, and a C. And again, this is what humans do. I want A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Hopefully someday you're going to listen to the A, B, and C, but then you're going to make a Q and a P and an H out of it because that's creativity. I can tell you anything you want to, but eventually when you get great at this stuff, maybe I dance it through. Maybe I dance my emotions through, and maybe I go home and I burn something up and let it go. Maybe I'm the one that stops on the lake on the way home and just allows the clouds to release anything that hurts me. There's a million things that we can do, and we don't use our creativity and our nature and our world around us to move that stuff through back to what we would consider source energy because we think that's silly or stupid or weird. We're too practical.
Yeah, we are. And it the logical mind totally takes over on how could that possibly work? Like,
Or how is it that easy that you're going to let that cloud take away my grief when I lost my mom at 7? Well, you know what? It can, right?
energy is so interesting. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I just really want to reiterate before we wrap up here, go deeper, unleash yourself in terms of where are these patterns coming from? I've had them my whole life. Well, that's because you signed up for them. Come on, own that. And self-responsibility is what we want to do here, not self-victimization. We want to really look into, oh my God, I'm the one that signed up for this. These are just players, you
Mhm.
know? I mean, I still had somebody the other day that was super upset about, the president campaign, not just one person. I've had several. And when I invite them to work with that person's energy, their initial reaction is always like, no. And then you realize, oh, from a soul's perspective, this is their sole job. Just let that be okay. Because that sole job of agitation is what's waking up half of this country to go, oh, hell no, that's not good.
Mm.
This is what this agitation and this control of agitation, we feel like we've lost control, is making us realize we haven't lost control. That's what's so silly about this.
We didn't have control to begin with. Like,
No. And
yeah,
this agitation and this chaos is starting to break down the illusions of, holy crap, I've never had it anyway.
yeah,
You know?
I,
So it's really, I think it's a fascinating time to be here. On the other hand, it's really difficult. Like, even talking, my eyes keep going in and out, in and out. That can be terrifying. And if you are the kind of person that has to go and get your eyes checked, go do it. I mean, I find myself at certain places where this is ascension crap, and then I'll get into X, Y, or Z to the extent of, you know what, maybe I will get that checked.
mhm.
The reason why we want to get it checked is to ease up the mental field.
Right. Because if you're going to worry about it, you keep thinking that you have it, whatever it
Yep.
is, it's going to be detrimental to me. It's going to be like,
Right.
you're going to bring that in. So,
What one doesn't want to do, however, is if I finally go to the irritation level of getting the test and then they can't find it, then please don't do yourself the disfavor of going, well, it must be even worse because they can't find it.
yeah, well,
That's very typical.
it is because there's still symptoms, the symptoms are there. Oh,
I
jeez.
know. It's a little hard to be on planet right now, isn't it?
It's really hard, actually.
Yeah.
But then it's still beautiful and there's so many great things. And, I just, it's, I had read something the other day that you have to catch those little glimmers, look for those little glimmers of just joy and awesomeness and hold on to those because it really helps like your attitude and thought process as you're going through the day,
And you
right?
can do it in the neutral zone again. We were chatting before we got on that my entire kids and all their kids, so my children and grandchildren and which is quite a horde all of a sudden, all went bowling for my birthday. It was hysterical. We did bowling, Bloody Marys, and breakfast. It was super funny and took over this little vintage bowling alley, and it was insane. And at a certain point, I just stood neutral and I watched the joy and the craziness and the stupidity of 2-year-olds bowling. I mean, it was hysterical. And then my, 40-year-old or whatever whipping it so hard that it goes in the gutter. We're like, haha. It just was silliness, right? And if you stand neutral in that silliness sometimes and you realize, holy shit, this is amazing to look at what my life has assisted in producing here. This is a gift forward of just energetic expression of an existence of being in a human form. It can be overwhelmingly astounding and purposeful. And you can do that because you take 30 seconds to step into neutral.
Hmm.
And I do that often. I stick myself in a place where I'm not in this room, I'm just watching it. And you know me, I've done that for years. I practice dead in terms of like, oh, this is what it's going to be like when I'm not even here, because I am going to be here. I'm just not going to be here. And those can be really beautiful exercises in, oh, this is what that looks like. Oh, this is validation. This is the real validation of this life in terms of an incarnation, not my name on the door at the job where I'm killing myself and missing all the other moments. These are the balancers that we're looking for right now. And they're everywhere. Like you
They're
said, you can be able to,
everywhere.
yeah,
I just going to the grocery store on Saturday and running some errands. People were so delightful and so giving. I'm like, this is really happening. Like I had a lady go, "Oh, honey, you need a coupon for this thing that you're getting. I'll just go get another one." I'm like, "What?"
right?
She
Right.
got out of line, went and got the other coupon and came back. And I'm just like, that was the sweetest thing anybody has done for me all week. Like,
Yeah.
can't believe it. And, it just everywhere I went, people were just amazing. And it was so fun. I
So
loved it.
presents for
Hmm.
the holiday season.
Hmm.
There you go.
Right. Be kind. Right.
Kindness is a choice.
I
I'm
know it is.
gonna
Still,
leave you with that.
choose
Kindness.
kindness. I'm going to get a t-shirt. Choose kindness.
Yeah. Kindness is a all right, and choose to choose to like this video or not, choose to share it or not. Subscribe if you choose to, and hopefully that you maybe want to take away one golden nugget and share it with someone else. So, on behalf of Kim and I, as always, thank you for listening and sharing yourselves. And hopefully, some of these client sessions can give a glimmer into something that's happening in your life. So, until next time, cosmic hugs.
Right.